that I've been seeing a lot for this past week is, if you're not going to give us reparations, at least pay us equally. Secure the bag, do what you got to do, but that's a stupid statement. Once again, you're asking your oppressor to give you something that they're obviously not going to give you because it keeps you oppressed. Within that, I personally have been doing a lot of thinking around Audre Lorde's essay, The Uses of the Erotic, and how white supremacy / capitalism has made it so that Black people are erotic, which, if you read Audre's essay, is basically the thing that you enjoy in life, the thing that makes you feel whole, the thing that makes you happy. The erotic has now become this thing that you have to pay for. And if you're not paying for it, you're at least paying to have free time in your life to enjoy it. Once again, going back to the idea of, well, you know, I enjoy going to the movies, and so my white friend brought me a movie ticket, and that is great, but that is not reparations. Within the essay, she speaks about locating what you enjoy, locating what moves you, what urges you to want to fight, to continue to stay around. And so for me, I've located those two things in my life, weed and books, and I do not pay for them. White people are not going to give me reparations, so I'm just not going to give white people money for certain things. I do not pay for weed. I've been living in LA for 3 years. At the end of this summer, I've not paid for weed for 3 fucking years. As of this past year, I have not paid personally for a book out of my own pocket. So, once again, going back to Audre Lorde's essay, The Uses of Erotic, my erotic is weed, my erotic is books, literature. I don't want to be around you. I don't want to spend time with you. So I'm not going to do this thing of like, let's go get dinner and you'll pay for my dinner. Let's go to the movies and you'll pay for my movie ticket. You know, someone recently invited me to go to Six Flags with them, and I'm just like, I don't really want to. And you're not obviously going to pay for me and Sarah Gale to go to Six Flags by ourselves without you. And if you did, that would still fall under an idea within your mind of charity. So I'd rather just pass on those situations and focus on securing my erotic, weed, and books. In the past 2 years, some peers of mine have been doing work around reparations, but within that, it's shown us that, once again, as the oppressed, it's always going to be labor on our end to acquire the reparations. So Rafia Santana in New York has Pay Black Time, which is an open Venmo and PayPal account in which anybody, white people, encouraged and urged plainly to put money into it. And with that, a Black person can go into Rafia's Uber Eats or whatever the fuck you get food delivered at and order a meal for themselves. And so Rafia has taken it upon herself to use her social capital as a Black artist within the white contemporary world to secure money so that she can feed her peers and her peers of her peers. The issue with that project, or the only flaw with that project, is that it's labor on Rafia. She has to take time from her personal practice to actually run the account, to actually make the orders for people, to actually make sure that people receive their orders. Another artist placed in New York, Wenzel LaRouche, actually sends people reparations requests. Nobody ever gives them a check back, but nonetheless, it's putting the demand out into the world, but nonetheless, it's still emotional labor on their end that is draining. And it also cuts off their access to spaces. So no matter whatever work they do in their life, no matter how good their artwork is, no matter how much of a nice person they are, the simple fact of sending a white person an actual invoice for reparations makes them in their feelings and in their chests, and making it so that they don't want him around in their spaces anymore. So the reality of reparations for me is we are owed it, we deserve it. The only way we're going to really get it is by cutting necks. But as a collective whole, we're not there yet, and I understand it. One day, hopefully. But until then, the labor is on our end to secure our reparations. I fully believe in, once again, getting what you want to get for yourself. But also, if this labor is going to have to exist, if you're going to have to maintain right proximity, if you're going to have a white friend, if you're going to have to tolerate a conversation with a white person, then it makes sense to me to acquire something that you can then spread to your black peers and other black communities. So on my end, I don't share my weed, it's my weed. I smoke other people's weed and I smoke my own weed, and that's how that goes. But the books I acquire, I give to peers. So it's a structuring of proactive reparations, that nothing within, as Emory Douglas's exhibit shows, nothing within our liberation is going to be given. It comes from us doing something on our own, and the government, white people, taking control of it and making it accessible to everybody, or literally us just doing something significantly brutal, where in which there is no comeback from it. So, I don't know, yeah. I'm just winging it here, freestyling it up. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't left my apartment this week, actually, because I don't like white people and they're everywhere in LA, and it's tiresome. So this is the first time I've actually spoken to anybody at a week. And it's about reparations. Pay Black Women, Pay Black Time by Rafia Santana. Another collective that is located within, or another group of black people that are located in LA, Snatch Power, is built around that idea of snatching power, of not building collective fronts with your oppressor, but literally, I'm going to snatch what I need for myself. If you are inviting me to come into your space and perform or to do whatever, I'm going to snatch the space that I can to invite the rest of my other peers to come in. So Rafia Santana, Winslow LaRouche, and Snatch Power for me have been three main focusers of how I personally acquire what I need for myself to survive, but also how I can take what little I do get and spread it amongst my friends. I thought there were going to be more black people here, so I was going to go around and ask them what their erotic was, but I don't know. What's your erotic? Music, I know you. So your erotic is music. So it's like all your white DJ friends, it's like you need to tell them the next DJ gig they give it to you.
Yeah.
Snatch Power. Proactive reparations. Get better white DJ friends. What's your erotic? Food. See, that can be a tricky one. See, the difficult thing with that is, like, you gotta have white friends to get a good job, at least in LA. It's really unfortunate and irritating. Pick wisely, so that you don't waste your time and expose yourself to unnecessary whiteness. I mean, it's everywhere, but there's unnecessary whiteness. Yeah, pick wisely. Know what you want to do. Know what you want to do. Know who the people are. It's a really interesting thing when it comes specifically in general, but when it comes to work, is in that the way in which capitalism, white people, have structured things like networking and rubbing elbows and being in the right place. If you were that lucky to get in that space, that's all you got to do is just maintain that. And yeah, I don't know. What job do you want to have? Or what career are you pursuing?
Creative development,
I really hate Hollywood, so I don't like that. I don't know. I feel like every black person I know who's in Hollywood or doing that is having difficulty right now. But I don't know. I'll get your contact info and I'll connect you to people that I know that hell you might already know. Because there's not a lot of niggas in white spaces. Let's see. I'm not, be quiet. What is your erotic? Yes. Clothing. Oh, you get a lot of things. I don't know why actually. What's your erotic? what's your, this nigga just went to Paris, so I don't even know why I called him. Like, you,
I mean, at the end of the day, check, you know, like, you just check, sign up for me.
I do believe in that. I do believe in that. I do. I'm trying to recall the last time I had money and I gave it to somebody. It's August now. Beginning of June, I gave somebody some of my paycheck that I had. So yes, I mean, you know, once again, the labor is on us. That if I want my black friend to survive, I have to share the money that I labor with over them. Which isn't this like horrible fucked up thing, but also I don't know any white people that just like give part of their paycheck to like their white roommate just for the hell of it because they want to see them thrive. So within all of these things, working, having money in general, getting gigs that pursue the career you want to have. Personally, I feel like something that's really important for LA is living in housing. And this is something that, you know, easy ways for white people. I don't like talking to white people, I'm gonna talk to you right now. Easy ways for white people to utilize their so-called allyship. To be a good cracker, spread that cheddar, and if you have a place to live, you know, like I live with a white person, it's not so bad. But once again, LA, you do what you gotta do. You survive in how the way you gotta survive. But if you have rooms and you're not looking to rent them or to give them over to people based on identity politics, you're not an ally. You're just a white person, which is really tragic. If you know that your job is hiring and you are asking yourself, oh, like, you know, do I have any friends who are trans, who are of color, who, you know, do you know what it feels like to just go to Starbucks and try to get a job as a trans person? I'm not trans, so I don't, but, you know, it's probably not that fun. So if you as a white person who has a job in the, you know, say you work at a spa, and you can get your peer a job there, you need to do that. That's ally work. You know, showing up to marches and all that, whatever, like, that's cute, that's real, but ain't none of y'all really going to marches where, like, you get canisters shot at your head, so that's not real ally work. But, I don't know, I guess I'm down. Give your money to people of color. I'm black, so I'm going to center myself. And I'm real about that. Give your money to people of color because, like, 5 of us are getting ready to perform for you for free tonight, 6 including Haiti. So, I don't know. You kind of owe us on top of how you already owe us. So,
Yes! Next up, Elliot Reed.
Hey, oh great, okay, this thing works. So there's supposed to be an intro song. It was I Need a Hitter by Katie Galligan, so if any of you have YouTube on your phone, feel free to look it up off hours, it sounds really important. My name is Elliot Reed, and for Black Ted, I prepared a script. Ariana Grande releases a rap album. Is she even dark enough to say that? I'm glad the scales are tipping. I'm over darkies on TV. Since I was younger, I've always had a sweet tooth. Honey. It's like the nectar of the gods. I read somewhere that as mankind continues to evolve, that everybody on this earth will become the color of honey. Something like Beyonce meets Ariana Grande, meets Jessica Alba, meets Rihanna, meets Jesse Williams, meets The Rock, meets Craig David. I keep a horse stable in my backyard. It's a beautiful estate. You really should visit sometime. Don't worry about the neighbors. They tried this new procedure where the teeth on each of their trained German shepherds were surgically removed. All bark and no bite. Oh heavens no, the dogs can't feel a thing. It's really just a matter of keeping up appearances. Hush, there's no reason to fret. They were behind the gate this whole time. It's like you've never seen a dog before. Well, go on then, quit your shaking and whining. We've got some plush new towels for you in the powder room. Fix yourself up. Dinner should be ready within the hour. How fabulous! Miss Mabel made chitlins. So I've been trying to figure out this new dance. My friend explained it to me. It's simple. So first you start with a cha-cha slide, but every third step you milli rock into a Cupid stomp. What's that? Quick, everyone switch positions. It's 2018 and anybody with a cisgendered partner has to leave the floor. Now that's what I call radical inclusivity. Look out! You have 16 bars to line up by skin color. Oops, I forgot. This is the New Orleans Bounce remix. Who remembers the instructions for this part? I haven't taken French lessons since high school. Google Translate? Honey, no, on the West Coast we use Babelfish. What do you mean you don't know how to Maxine Waters wobble? I tell you, we used to wop and wiggle till the sun came up. I remember my best girlfriend, Pauline, used to whip and woo-woo till the cows came home. Me and your father used to cut it up. Back in my day, all you had to do was strap all your furniture to the floor. The way we would hip, hoop, and holler all we wanted. By the time we were through, it was like Miss Godzilla herself had a field day in the living room. No, baby, I'm not gonna teach you the field day 5-step. You know the webbing between my fingers is still tender from the last time. Well, all right, maybe just this once. Let me see if I can remember how this thing goes. Clench your asshole to the beat. Twist your hips and clap your feet. Something salty, something sweet. I like your hat, it's really neat. I left a sandwich in the street. Eat the veggies, but not the meat. You don't want to overeat. Have some class, be discreet. Your trashy manners are obsolete, but still, I'm feeling incomplete. Did I get a copy of my receipt? Your style is tired, time to reheat. When trouble comes, I press delete. You wish you could keep up with my drum beat. Planning is key, make yourself a spreadsheet. Throwing words like bombs, you best retreat. You can prance, but you're no elite, so simmer down and have a seat. This wretched display is disrupting my heartbeat. Your entry is musty, best get you a fleet. Go ahead, little piggy, suck on a teat. Face so lumpy, like it's kneaded in wheat. Oops, oh my, like my name's Tweet. This barbecue's delicious. Did you smoke it with mesquite? If you don't know your history, it's bound to repeat. So dry clean those pants or you'll ruin the pleat. So I met this guy, and his name is Pete. He runs his own business and he's an Olympic athlete. We met during my time on the Greek Isle of Crete. Overcoming the language barrier has been quite a feat. But good thing I suck fluently with all types of meat. Hello there. What? You? Of course you. I'm talking to you. Yes, you, not I. You. Y-O-U. Yeah, hey. Yeah, there, that's right, it's me. Oh, no, you guessed right. It's me, Clarence. C-L-A-R-E-N-C-E, Clarence. Wouldn't you like to know? What are you doing here? Here, on my railroad track. You came to watch? Oh, I get it. You're just some kind of bona fide voyeur, aren't you? Well, damn it, get down here and help me. If you aren't gonna help, I don't know why you even came. Wait, what are you saying? Why are you yelling at me? Yes, me, Clarence. Why are you screaming? Well, it's not my fault you chose to introduce yourself on top of a 25-foot pole. I can't hear you. Why don't you come down and say something? Yeah, I'm tired of your attitude. Oh, you can't get down? Well, how'd you get up? What? Sinbad? The comedian. I mean, no, I haven't seen him in years. Yeah, I know Sinbad is a very large man, but I find it hard to believe he threw you all the way up there. Yes, on top of that wooden pole. Wait, you're telling me he just led you there and you climbed up by yourself? But why? Wait, slow down. What's this you're saying? What? Gold coins? What do you mean gold coins? What, Sinbad told you what? You said he showed you a picture of a box filled with golden coins. Really? What did the box look like? You said it was green with a black satin lining. Green with black satin. Wait a second, you know what? I have a box just like that on my kitchen table. But come again? You knew I had a box like that on my kitchen table? Oh, okay, who told you that? Sinbad? Sinbad told you to come all this way out here to my humble abode by the railroad tracks to take my golden coins? Child, those are Sacagawea coins. They're only worth $1 each. Won't you come down now? You can. Why? Now what is it? What do you mean the ground is lava? Well, I very much assure you it's not. No, not hot. I said it's not lava. And no, I'm not a lava monster in men's clothing sent to deceive you. How much time have you been spending with Sinbad anyway? It's no good for you. And no, this is not what a lava monster would say. Get down! I'm sorry to tell you, but there are no golden coins. I mean, well, there are, but you'll be lucky to buy a week's worth of groceries once you cash them in. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Will you come down now? Please? Money, complex money, feed me. I'm not into being fed. Get your hands away from me. Blonde hair and blue eyes, spooky in the dark, real bright, just like the mucus I expelled all over your hand. I'm anything but helpless. I want you to know that you're above anything else. You are instrumental in your own well-being. Your record is warped. Check the scratches. I'm tired of hearing this song on repeat. Lock groove, lock groove, lock groove. The way that you keep repeating yourself over and over and over reminds me of the same motions it takes to dig your own grave. I love all of you, and I need you to understand that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. This is a whole world, and you don't need to keep running into the same fucked up roadblocks. Take a left turn, take a right turn, or just even take a fucking break. Quit looking into the eyes of your self-proclaimed oppressors, begging for salvation. They couldn't help you then, and they won't help you now. Education has a limit. Free yourself, liberate your talents, and feed the people who need to see you, instead of throwing pebbles at the Goliath that is the enemy. You are valuable, you are important, and you need to understand that you can yell and shout and shriek at a brick wall until a fine mist of blood sprays from your throat and the castle remains. Use your talents. You are holy, you are blessed, you are special, you are vital, and you are important. And I need you to turn your attentions back towards the people who need you. Why be mad at the same 13 people when your hands are the most powerful tool that ever graced this earth? Why be mad at the same 13 people when your beautiful voice can sing songs and deliver praise to others in your circle? Why be mad at the same 13 people when you never gave a fuck about a cosign in the first place? They aren't checking for you. Don't go to a door marked poison looking for ice cream. I love you, and I love myself, and that's why I draw the line. I love you, and I love my cohort, and that's where I build a circle. I love you, and I love my co-presenters, because that's just the way it is. Listen to me, this is urgent. Write a book, love a friend, host an event, leave the house. Stay in, share some food, drink a glass of water, just don't isolate. We need each other and I need you. I need you to understand that I don't want to watch another vital mind lost living in the shadow of their oppressor. Start a new chapter with the word I. I build. I spoke. I read. I saw. I decided. I made. It's you and only you. Let they occupy the sidelines. Let they make the effort to find you. We are the ones we've been waiting for, and I refuse to be anyone's footnote. And I wish the same for you. Truly, why be mad at the same 13 people who were never checking for you in the first place? I suppose we'll never play for the same team, but it's an honor to share the field. Thank you.
Also, if anybody wants to see the part of the task, you can come. Also in the pyramid, you're welcome to take it.
Next up, Doug Allende.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Hi, thanks for coming to TED. Thanks to Elliot Reed for doing an awesome presentation. Thanks to Brandon Drew Holmes. So this is probably everyone's first Black TED experience. This is actually our second time doing this. Our first time at LACE. Thank you, LACE, for having us. Thank you, Youngjun Hua. So far, everyone's gotten a scope of the artist's experience. So I want to make sure tonight that we all leave with an experience. It's like a running game. So, this is a non-binary co-host of mine named The Experience. I love it, so it's part of myself. We all have experiences, personal, global, socially. We all are born. We all copulate. It's a very college word for fuck. You gotta pay taxes, die. Aside from that, as a Black person, we have a very particular experience that is exclusive to us and only us. And I'm going to try to the best of my abilities to further elaborate on that. So I'm going to start with showing some highlights of the white experience from a Black perception. Not sure if everyone can see, but the first thing you notice is the red. That's the text. This is just a short list of basically the Black American experience, covered up by the hands of white supremacy. We start off with apartheid. You go down to Jim Crow. Oh, concerning Jim Crow, it hasn't ended, by the way. Just elaborated to the prison industrial complex. I'm going to pass out some samples of something. I'm going to give this to only one Black person. So I'm going to ask you, if you will, hold this item in your hand, place your palm upon the item, your same hand, thumb on the item, close your eyes, just feel it for a bit. Use your thumb, your fingers, just rub it a little bit. and pass it over once you're done. Okay, so I left off at Jim Crow, which again hasn't left. I'm gonna go down to prison. That's still a big issue. There are more brown and black, but specifically black individuals incarcerated for crimes that are usually led to us being innocent. We're still in jail. This is, again, like the black experience in white America. As you're feeling that item on your hand, give it a good rub and then pass it. Just keep doing it, pass it to the next person. And then I'm gonna ask you after a few minutes how you feel and what you may think it means. Yeah, so again, a lot of hands are on this list, and it's even hard for me to see at this point. This is covering basically the reasons as to why our experience as black people have been ransacked, stolen, and recreated for us to abide by. We don't really have a comfortable and lucrative way of finding ourselves prior to the American experience. It's not impossible, but it's really hard due to white supremacy. Looking up our family tree, having to pay to look up our family tree, our genealogy, what tribe we're from, what region of Africa we're from, by the way, which is a continent, not a country. Something that probably is not really experienced that much by white people. We know white Americans are usually from European descent. And by the way, Spanish, Spain is included. Spanish is just another European language by white people. Which, by the way, recently, black people are being accounted for in census in Latin American countries. Again, if you're still feeling that piece of item that you have in your hand, keep rubbing it, pass it to the next person. Okay, so this goes along with this side here. The white American experience from the black gaze. So this collage I created a little while back. It's called Animals in School. When I created it, I guess subconsciously was putting together how I felt the Black American experience has been analyzed, deconstructed, researched, and then repackaged and pasteurized to the rest of the world, even including us. We've got archaeologists here. This is actually placed in northern Sudan looking for skeletons connected to the Egyptian Empire, which, by the way, Dr. Reiser, who was one of the first archaeologists to excavate in Egypt, noticed that the further they dug, the more black bones they found. That's when it stopped. This is from an event I did a couple of years ago. I found it on the ground, and somebody created a fake currency bill. Mind you, I found this maybe 4 or 5 months before we find out what's going on right now. And I just found different artifacts, different pictures, put it together. I thought about school, I thought about learning, I thought about how I had 2 different sets of education growing up. I went to a public school, but when I got home, my mother made me learn about things that I would learn in school about myself and what I represent. If you still have that item in your hand and you passed it on, stop where you are. Now I'm going to ask you, do you still have it in your hand? That piece of fabric? Okay, so that's fine. So when you were feeling it, what kind of fabric did you think it was? Okay, so like Rough leather, smooth leather, patent leather. Okay, smooth and soft, sleek. If you haven't reached touching that fabric yet, that's okay. Keep passing it around. So, what's your name? Jamal here felt that piece of fabric, said it was smooth, soft, and it felt like leather. Very nice, very expensive. Also part of American history. For blacks, there was the Pickaninny trend during slavery where slave masters would use black skin. Usually after one of us got lynched a couple days out of the week, and they would make our skin into shoes and clothes. They were very expensive. They sold really high in countries like Germany and Switzerland. And they lasted for a long time. So our bodies were processed to make others look good, really good. Our bodies are very important, but apparently it doesn't matter that much. Let's see. Another thing that brought me to mind was dogs. So, from my experience, I've had a complicated relationship with pets in general, but specifically dogs. I love them to death, don't get me wrong. I just dog sat for my sister. It was fun. It's a little cute Chihuahua Dachshund mix. But yeah, doing my research on dogs concerning history in America for blacks, not a very good history. Dogs were not our best friend, not for a while. I always have a tinge of resentment when I'm around dogs, and I can't help it, but it's due to my trauma because of slavery. I made this collage a little more recently than the previous one, and I kept a book that discussed post-slavery Reconstruction era. And this was a newspaper piece that I cut out. It's from Boston. And the first thing that spotted in my mind was slave catchers. This collage here is actually from a science book from 1959. So that was the original format for the police system. They were originally meant for slave catchers. And I don't think that that objective's gone away. Obviously that's still the case. And again, when I pet my sister's dog, I visit a friend, the terrier runs up to me, I give it a little nudge. Oh, it's such a beautiful animal. But they've been domesticated through a process of thousands of years to be our partners in crime. It's kind of weird. But yeah, that's my little bit about dogs. Our bodies, again, property theft. That piece of fabric that's still going around. Every time that I think of leather, I think of property theft. How can we move away from the gaze of looking at our black bodies as property and as actual human beings, rather? I don't think it's so much that our job is to teach white people this. We're past that point. It's more of what are you going to do about it? How are you going to go about it? I hear the word solidarity a lot. I mean, for now, it can mean scrambled eggs for all I know. It's been used to a point where now it's a household name, but I'm not quite sure if it's being fully practiced. But again, we'll just move on. Right, so I'm gonna go back to this. Oh, actually, real quick. So this was from also a Boston newspaper. They reported Mary, an escaped slave, chose to jump from a window in Washington, D.C., rather than face being returned to the South. This little poem, is called I Want to See Myself, I Want to See Inside Myself, Give Me Back My Head. I'll put on my heart straight. Let me out of bed now. I can't wait to see myself. Give me back my body. I can see myself. This illustration alone is just very telling, and the story behind it is pretty evident that if you still have a doubt in your mind that we aren't still experiencing that residue of trauma, and we've made it out of that as a people pretty damn well, there's still a lot of work to do. So I'm going to turn it around on this side, which kind of reflects the present. And this is what I believe white people have experienced concerning Black culture in America. Can everybody see pretty well? If not, I'm sure you can walk up and see a little bit. I'm not gonna lift it up, but I can like run down the list. So we've got the justice system, which clearly works mostly for white people, period. Hip hop, that's been taken and appropriated. Seasoning, also see culture, look that up. Google's your best friend. We've got sports. Again, back to that piece of fabric that's being passed around. Feel that real good. Because that model is still connected to how the sports industry is exercised today. We don't have a sports industry as a country without Black bodies. By the time we're 25 years old, a Black entity that's an athlete is already at a critical age. They start to deteriorate. Like a horse, they get worked down. So they need tranquilizers, they need drugs to keep that career up. Well, I mean, Oprah's pretty telling. She's no longer like our mentor. She's pretty much the modern mammy for white culture and soccer moms. Clothing. Again, feel that piece of fabric, keep passing it around. Blackface, still hasn't gone away. Believe it or not, some people still wonder if it's a bad thing. And that's where anti-blackness comes in. You can still not be Black and still be fucked up doing blackface. You're just anti-Black. That's another topic. And history. The history and the gaze of Black culture through the eyes of white people in America is not ours. It's not ours at all. But we still have a chance to create that for ourselves. And we have the option to not show it to anyone else. Because we deserve that and we earn that experience. Oh, and if you're wondering what these red marks are, this is pretty much a signification of, blood of our ancestors, just kind of trying to grab us back and recreate our own history. Constantly. Just an FYI as well, I mean, this also connects to wealth. Wealth in our economy, Black Americans are the highest consumers. So if we decided one day, like, hey, fuck it, I'm not going to the mall, I'm gonna close my bank account, I'm gonna shut down. That's kind of scary, isn't it? That we actually have that kind of power. But we can put it into our own resources. Buy Black. Buy Black. Buy Black. And even if you're not Black, you should still buy Black because our products are awesome. Again, an example is that fucking fabric that could have been our skin. Or mine. Think about that. Like, we were literally created into jackets and onesies and fedoras and gloves and socks and knee-highs for your ancestors to walk around and prancing and go, isn't she the daintiest? I'm not a vegan, but I don't really wear leather, so. I'm not preaching veganism, but I think that to wrap it all up, if you really want to know about our history, you're gonna have to pay us. Reparations is important. Reparations is something that has been used and said a lot as well, but I don't think we all understand what that means. Look at the handprints. These are representations of hundreds of years of this country feeding off of our literal labor. We create clothing, we create style, we create media, we create sports, we make sports better. You're not really gonna have a Super Bowl if you ain't seeing any niggas out there running around passing the ball. It's just not gonna happen. No one's tuning in. That could be an example of a state of emergency. Like, forget this guy right here for a minute. Like, this is the real issue. Whoever's in our current office right now, it does not negate the primary issues of how we see ourselves. How we see ourselves as a people and how we see ourselves with people who have basically fed off of us for many, many years. So it's always going to be a thing to see maybe a twitch in the eye or a shift in a muscle when a white person hears reparations, because it's not themselves thinking about it, it's their ancestors echoing in their head. Oh no, it's that again. Cool. So again, this continues. I think there's still a little more white space to like fill up. I just need an extra pair of hands, just kind of add to this addition here. Yeah, just give it a nice pat. Ooh. Yeah, he's experienced. Yeah, I guess to sum it up, it's, if you got the bread, experience giving back and atoning for our shared history in America. Thank you so much.
Next up, Michael James.
I figured I could sit on this too. I was low-key, I'm just sitting on there. I was like, what? This doesn't matter. Sure, for sure.
Check. Am I live? Thank you. Hi, Sterling. How are you? It's a pleasure to see you. This might apply to you slightly. We'll talk about it in a bit. Come in, Professor. My name is Dr. Shamrock Scheherazade. Being a part of the Black TED research team has been an incredible part of my life. Working with these fine people is nothing short of extraordinary. Also, thank you, Young. Please, a round of applause for Young for all of this. Now, while most of our research is dedicated towards thwarting the efforts of white supremacy, sometimes even that requires us having an inward conversation between each other. And today I want to present to you a certain selection. That was vodka in that, sorry. Blinnovative Resources, which is who I represent as a sub-company for Black TED, presents to you Light Skin. What we do, we draw the line? Excuse me while I pull up my notes. We have to check each other. It's just a natural fact. Now, first we're going to discuss the origins of light skin. When did that happen? Now, I don't know if anyone else is a member of the Nation of Islam, like I am. I'm going to give you a brief history lesson. Nearly 7,000 years ago, a man named Yaqub conducted hundreds of skin grafting experiments. Over time, he was able to create new breeds of people. Yaqub died at the age of 152, as people in that time were wont to do. But his workers continued his research, and some 600 years later, white people were officially born. Now that whiteness had been created, its main objective was to conquer and destroy anything that stood in its way. So obviously, we have slavery, which takes place not only in the United States, but also abroad. That in turn results in white slave owners' forcible procreation with black people. It's a terrible thing. You can sigh or do any sort of sad movement if you like. That's a laugh, it's different. So you have light-skinned offspring, so on and so forth. I have heavy breaths in my nose. Also, this microphone stinks. Now, another way that we get to where we are, some black people simply having sympathy sex with whites. It happens. It happens more times than you would think. I don't think I know a black person in this room who hasn't had sex with a white person. It's true. Your whole entire black dead staff is full of white. I mean, some of them are reformed, but it's the truth. Okay. So now these are the origins. So now that light skin exists within our genetic code, it has the ability to strike at any moment, even when two black people procreate, which we'll discuss in a bit. Now, seeing as how light skin has such incredibly malevolent roots, it becomes quite easier to understand why. Oh, sorry, I thought I hit the button. It becomes quite easier to understand why there is such a constant struggle between good and evil within the breed. But before we continue, let's explore a basic color breakdown. Now, this is a completely rudimentary color block for people of a lighter hue. But as you see with the many variants I've discovered in my research, we don't need much more than this to understand the psychological functions and impediments of being beige. You have yellow bone, red bone, of course, crazy bone. Oh, busy bone, sorry, I forgot my research. Either way, crazy, busy legs, they're all the same. Let's see. Caramel, honey mustard, mustard on the beet hole, waffle batter or Eggo, butterscotch, banana mentos, new rustic, young Tuscany, old Goldie, spaniel, and of course, yolk. That's just a simple breakdown. Slide. Next, I'd like to discuss some of the genetic specifics that lead us towards the probability of light skin. Some of these will be very familiar to you, while others are not seen quite nearly as often in the common era. While one particular configuration could result in mayhem for the entire universe. For our first configuration, you might recognize this beautiful Chardonnay-colored Pisces as Darla from the television program Queen Sugar. It is, of course, none other than the talented and frankly ageless actress Bianca Lawson. Her skin is nearly transparent, and upon first glance, you might find yourself inclined to presume that one of her parents would be a white devil. But alas, you'd be wrong. Bianca's parents are, of course, none other than Denise Lloydie and Richard Lawson. Now, as you can clearly tell, Denise is a bit on the light side herself, but nowhere near the country time lemonade hue of her daughter. And even though this union predictably ended in divorce, you support this strong black family. Another popular example of an all-black union producing lighter offspring is, of course, the Knowles clan. Here we see Philanderer Matthew, mother Tina, who is now coincidentally married to Richard Lawson, along with their two children, Beyonce and Solange. Now, quite often there are anomalies within black families. As I mentioned earlier, the light skin gene that lies dormant within black DNA has the ability to spring and pounce at any given moment. As you'll see in the next slide, two darker-skinned parents can combine and produce two little glowworms. Slide. There we have it. We have one and two right there, as you can see. So you have a strong mother right here, and an even stronger father right there. They have produced two light brights. It's quite remarkable, isn't it? And all color aside, never aspire to be a Vanessa. Never aspire to be a Vanessa. Okay. Slide. Oh, okay. The next configuration is by far the most basic. It's when a light-skinned child is the product of a black man and a white... Oh, sorry. This is the wrong slide. Let me see if I can find the right one. There we go. Hold up. There we go. Sorry about that. Here we are. Now just look at the fear in his eyes as well as the sense of accomplishment in hers. Oh my goodness. Now, it's oh, lost my place. Hold on. Be lying again, grabbing my hold up, beat you. Hold up, nigga. Don't slow up, oh motherfucker, hold up. There we go, okay. Now the children of these types of arrangements are usually quite shrill and dull. Susceptible to all kinds of illness because of the confusion and trauma their minds are constantly undergoing. It's actually quite sad, really. Bless the children, but still. Well, hold on, I don't know who wrote those. I didn't write those notes. Remember when this fool said, don't be calling his son black, call him biracial. This nigga shaking my damn head. And looking like a fake ass Swiss Beats. I mean, fake ass. You know, why the monkey though? I mean, why they gonna do that? Okay. Sorry. Now the next configuration is quite astonishing, really, and more rare than you would imagine. Okay. This is what we refer to in the scientific community as dehiscent hominem album, from the Latin, which loosely translates to persuasive or deceptive white man. Colloquially, it's referred to as white father magic. The coming together of a black woman and a white man represents one of the strangest imbalances in all the world. The black woman obviously comprises the strongest and smartest of humans in existence, yet is the most victimized and ill-treated on the globe. The cishet white man, with all of his advantages and opportunities, is single-handedly the most evil of all creatures to walk about. Your laughter suggests disagreement. Applaud. Yeah, white people, sir. Unless you're a Black TED research member and you're attracted to them. That's a different story. Hey, we have to check that, but that's for another topic. We're still trying to compile data in order to better understand just how this grouping takes place. Now, you might recognize these two little ones as none other than Tia and Tamara Mallory, the beautiful twins with absolutely zero fashion sense. They, along with younger brother Taj, have had great success as yellow actors in the world of film and television. Slide. Now, this Bohemian clan might be recognizable to you. It's of course none other than the Smollett family. closely resembling a pack of wild field mice. These pale... Sorry, sir. Continue laughter if possible. I'd appreciate it. Closely resembling a pack of wild field mice, these pale beauties have long been revered for their tousled hair and fairy-like energy. In fact, popular folklore states that all black children born to white fathers possess special healing powers and are actually descendants of the great Rumpelstiltskin. Slide. You might recognize Journey and her brother Jesse. They're both actors, lighting up the screen with both their talent and their khaki-colored skin. Eve's body was the shit though. That's like, yo, Megan Good too, before she, yeah, okay. The next configuration. I bear you all warning. What happens when, say, you take a rubber band colored man like Taliban, and a woman, a person rather, I don't need to get into gender specifics, it's unnecessary, who has a white parent? I'm going to show this next slide briefly, and I'm going to move on, so make sure you see it. Watch your eyes. Sister. Oh my God. Oh my God, I've become sick. You can somewhat make out the parents, but here's King, and we see his eyes and his hair. There's young Major with his bad attitude. And this little fluorescent light bulb is Aries. Nothing but an outline. It hurts. Next slide. This latex glove is on the floor. I don't know if anyone likes it. I'm not into bondage like that. Not publicly at least. Now this, friends. This right here. This is the worst of it. We saw what happens when two black people can produce a light-skinned person. We saw what happens when a black and a mixed person produce a light-skinned person. White, that, all of that is all the same. What happens when two products of miscegenation? If y'all don't know what that means, that's when two white people, okay, that's a mix of that. What happens when two people of that hue get together and procreate? Oh my goodness. He just kind of drips out of there, doesn't he? He won't stop. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This is an unholy alliance. A union of this magnitude with this much beige energy can be detrimental to the fabric of our society. Chiefly because it has the potential to create what? A dynasty. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We have no way of knowing whether or not this kind of power will be used to help the world or to obliterate it. Imagine having a conversation with any member of this family. And what would you say? What could you say? With the snap of a finger, they could flip your soul inside out. They could force any one of us to eat coleslaw or use mixed chicks' hair products for no reason. I'm only thankful that Miss Bonet's dad is a black man. For if they both possess the rare gift of white father magic, well, that child of that union would have to be destroyed. I'm just kidding. We don't kill no kids around this black team. Sorry, Chico. Sorry about that. So now that we've discussed the origins of light skin, as well as the multiple configurations with which it is assembled, it's vital that we redirect our conversation towards the two categories that all light-skinned people fall into. The first of which is the evil strain. I know a lot of you lust after Jesse Williams, but he's on the bad side for sure. I guarantee you this. You know, he had the black wife, and then he cheated. Okay, you know, I'm back. Sorry, back to this. Okay. Now, the evil strain. This group isn't so much evil. It's simply that there's a natural inclination to arrogance, jealousy, self-hatred, player hatred, etc., etc. Let's take a quick look at some of the traits of the evil strain and then move on to a few examples. Okay. Napoleon complex of the complexion. The sense of inadequacy that comes from being born light-skinned is very difficult to understand and thusly nearly impossible to overcome. You will find many people disappointed by the discovery that their rhythm is lacking or that their sense of seasoning is somewhat off. Even the mere fact that they must avoid direct sunlight if they choose to venture outside. Crippling light skin, heart muscles, and tear ducts. Next, we'll note a certain proclivity towards sensitive feelings. If you were to tell an evil light-skinned person that, I don't know, that you lost their favorite Blue Contrail CD, they would become inconsolable. They would process this as a disaster on par with a nuclear attack. You would respond something like, "Hey fam, it's just a CD, bruh. I'll get you a new one, I'm sorry." And they would curse you, scurrying off into the woods crying. It's terrible. Now this is one of the more telling traits of an evil, light-skinned, strained humanoid. The constant overcompensation. The constant overcompensation that they feel usually leads them into some difficult situations when interacting with other black people who actually love and embrace their blackness. Now the clip that I want to show you, but I do want you to be aware that this is quite harsh. Are you ready?
Yes.
Thank you, Marvin, you adore. I adore your hair color. Excessive and incorrect usage of the N-word.
You know, off where doing whatever, somewhere else. It just sort of, it bugged me, man. It bugged me because it was like somebody I looked up to at one point. It was somebody that I was like, I used to see.
Oh, we'll have to replay it again. Oh no, don't put it all the way in. It's a problem with it. We tested earlier today. That's okay. Try it again. It's worth it. It's worth it. Did someone mute? I mean, I don't understand what happened. Well, maybe it's divine intervention that does not play because of this clip.
Oh, that's that nigger. You know?
Okay. We'll replay it again.
He was killing.
Don't hold your tongue there, Roxy. Let the laughter out. Here we go.
You know, off wherever, doing whatever, somewhere else. It just sort of, it bugged me, man. It bugged me because it was like somebody I looked up to at one point. It was somebody that I was like, I used to see out and be like, yo, that's that nigger, you know what I'm saying? You know, he had records, he was killing it. He worked with Pharrell, he worked with the Clip.
Wow. Look at this. Is this your king? Is this your king? Is this Dada Supreme? I mean, he's just not wearing it right. It's just like, come on, man. But that is a trait of evil light skin. Always wanting to nig it up and so saying it the wrong way. Hey, my nigger. Hey. Slow down, fam, please. Where was I? Sorry. Thank you, Mom, for executing that with precision. Next one, hold on. Take a time off for yourself. All right. Blue Cantrell. I know, but I wrote it in a small font, so it's difficult. Yeah, okay. All right. Lastly. Evil, light-skinned people are constantly over-celebrating, never understanding their place in the world. Let it play, let it burn into your corneas. I hate it so much. One of the most Now, well, I just do it again, damn nigga. Okay, all right. We're gonna move on. Outside of the evil strain, there is, of course, all right. If there's a good, if there's a bad, there has to be a what?
Okay.
Okay, well, stop it, Caramel. Stop it, Caramel. If there's an evil, there has to be what? Thank you. Why are you acting like nigga like this? You do call a response. If there's an evil, there has to be a what? Thank you. Okay. All right. Now let's get this party started. Now when we say good, I want to make a clear distinction between any notions of good hair or any nonsense like that. As I discussed earlier, the conditions under which light-skinned humans were created were far too sinister in nature to produce anything other than an envious, self-centered, mentally imbalanced person. But through diligent effort, we've seen many light brights turn their ill-fated condition into a helpful and loving perspective from which they can impact society for the better. Let's discuss some of the traits of the good strain, followed by some popular examples. Positive instincts, loving light skin, sure, otherwise known as pills. So if you take pills, that is a good light-skinned person you're ingesting into your system. Or just think that it is or something. Okay. Acknowledging the privileges of resembling a Nilla wafer. This one is self-explanatory. While we strive to live in a world of justice and equity, it's imperative now, more than ever, that we understand the different benefits some of us are allowed to experience, even as black people. Too often we assume that the all-encompassing tapestry of blackness somehow cloaks us into one monolithic existence, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Number 2, resisting the urge to talk over non-light black people, especially black women and femmes. This one is it kind of piggybacks off of the previous axiom. You might be in conversation with someone. Even better, let's modernize the example. Say you're in a Facebook comment section. A group of other black people are discussing moments in which they were racially profiled in their neighborhood. It might not be the right opportunity for you to chime in, assuring them that while you live in the same area as they, you've never experienced harassment of any sort. Of course you haven't, love. You're the color of hummus, nearly. It's not for you to jump in and say something. Number 3. Centering narratives and experiences of deeper tone of black people. Now, because the lives of pea-colored people have been placed directly underneath whiteness, it's necessary for those of us to not only reject the rewards of supremacy, we must create room for the lives and ideas of people who are marginalized every day. Those who cannot hide or blend into society as they see fit. Next slide. Constantly checking the white, non-black people in your family. Now this one isn't applicable to everyone, or everyone who's light-skinned, but for those of you with a white or non-black parent, this means, quite obviously, that said parental has a white or non-black family they were born into. And if these particular parents were born anytime before, I don't know, yesterday, then they certainly have experienced white supremacy and been the victims of it and the perpetrators of it. Scratch victims, like perpetrators, that's what I meant to say. I was trying to be extemporaneous when you don't look at the shit and that kind of stuff. Now, your uncle, for instance, he might have had some critical words for former President Barack Obama that perhaps had more to do with his citizenship and birth certificate than his policies and practices. Or you might have a grandparent who never fails to remind you that while welfare mothers and gangbanger saggy crackmen are destroying our nation, you, my little pecan Sandy, are a credit to the race. Normally, I would say that it isn't the responsibility of black people to educate others on white supremacy, but these are your people. Before they have an opportunity to inflict any more harm on other black folks, you must be the one to shut down this kind of behavior. And if you can't do that, I'll take a pause for applause. Lord knows I'm sweating for it. do that? Well, you have to kill them in their sleep. Joking on the outside, serious on the inside. Yeah, it's twisted. Okay. Lastly, I take no napkin from a white woman. I never take. My mother offered me a napkin when I was 3 years old. I refused it. I take nothing. Every time I turn it sideways, I lose my place. Okay, got it. And then lastly, I would say, this is more of a helpful suggestion than a rule. We know. Every 5 minutes with the region of Louisiana, I mean, we get it, we know. I support you, Creole, and I love you, or you mixed, or you this or that. We know. It's unnecessary, don't do it. So, lastly, I'd like to thank you for understanding that while light skin is technically a subset of humanity, a mutant race, if you will, it is possible to overcome the urges of vanity, self-importance, negligence, and utter sensitivity. Let's look at some more of these. My dear Duchess of Sussex. Love you. That's the white part, that's the black part. She is on the governing board of Silver Lake. If you did not know, that also happened to be on the cast of What's Happening Now. I love Anne-Marie Jackson. Hold on. Who? Danny Newton. And then to me, I can't tell them apart. It's difficult. A lot of us look the same. I want to say thank you to Black Ted. I want to say thank you to you.
The world is messed up. Some crazy shit is happening everywhere, and people are losing their shit. This is my community right here, the queer POC community. With hip new terms like ally and safe space being thrown around like candy on Halloween to young children, I actually thought that perhaps the scene was changing, but I was wrong. These days, more frequently than not, I hear stories of my fellow Black queers being subjected to the same aggressions and horrors they experienced from the white, cis, hetero population of the world. Even more disturbing and alarming, these heinous crimes are occurring in these safe spaces many people in the queer community flock to in hopes to find some sort of reprieve. I realized that we had a real problem on our hands, one of epic proportions. In order to get the answer I needed, I knew that I had to go back to my roots. Science. Many of you may not know, but I was at Caltech at the age of 14 doing research on biology. That's right. I did neuroscience research. I'm a scientist. That's right. And anywho, just whatever. I don't miss whatever. I had to use science, okay? Because the art scene, my artist shit, it wasn't helping. It wasn't getting me where I Jackson and Jackson. Looking out for black people to stay in America. Being a scientist, I knew the scientific method. Okay? I remember the steps. And I knew I had to do the research. So I did my research. After months of burying myself in books and etc., going to a library, which many of you have probably never walked into, I discovered this man here, Jorge Carver. Jorge Carver was a black scientist and inventor who died penniless without the respect of his peers. I came across, through his research, I came across what I can only call the biggest discovery in this century, perhaps this millennium. Before his death in 1928, Jorge Carver was working on synthesizing a very controversial compound that is folklore to many people, even to this day. Jorge Carver believed that the consumption and exposure to haterade was the reason why there are so many haters in this world. I took this information to the Jackson and Jackson laboratories, where we were able to synthesize 100% pure haterade. Give me a moment. Remember, I'm a scientist. What I'm about to show you is very dangerous. I have with me a sample of pure haterade. Even this minuscule amount of haterade could wreak havoc in the most intentional of spaces. Next. Let's see. Now that we had 100% pure haterade in our hands, we decided to see if this was actually the source of our problems or if we needed to start from ground one. We created the Jackson and Jackson haterade water test strips and began testing the tap water in Los Angeles. When Jackson and Jackson's laboratories tested the tap water throughout the county of Los Angeles, we discovered that there was haterade in every single person's water supply. We now knew that not only was haterade real, but the entire population of Los Angeles was unknowingly consuming haterade on a regular basis. In order to understand what extent haterade was in our environment, Jackson and Jackson Laboratories developed technology that would help us be able to do so. The Jackson and Jackson Haterade Air Tester measures the amount of haterade in the air by parts per million. The Jackson and Jackson Haterade Energy Sensors are one of our most recent creations to come out of Jackson Jackson Laboratories. The Jackson and Jackson Haterade Energy Sensors are on trend and discreet. But what's revolutionary is what the person wearing the glasses sees. What you see here are the haterade energy signatures being emitted from two different subjects. Haterade energy signatures indicate how much haterade is being emitted from a person, place, or thing. Both subjects, you can look at their heads, they're both emitting high amounts of haterade. But what is really interesting is the clothing that these subjects are wearing. You can see this one, it's not emitting as much haterade. This one's emitting quite a bit. You can't see it here, but this subject here was wearing a Black Lives Matter shirt. The subject here was wearing a David Bowie shirt. This discovery means that people can wear things that are completely free of haterade, like stones, etc. But if the person wearing the objects is emitting haterade, the technology I just showed you is extremely expensive, and none of you can afford it. That's why I don't put the prices. But we developed a low-cost, free way to determine if a person is a hater or if a place contains haterade. We took a fat, black, disabled, houseless woman and exposed her to many safe spaces in the queer POC community of Los Angeles. I'm gonna take my gloves off for this. I must warn you, what I'm about to show you is very disturbing. We went to the trash in downtown LA, where she was aggressed by the door guys and was eventually kicked out for laughing too loud. Next, we went to Frogtown, to the ladies' place for productive production. In less than 3 minutes, our subject had the cops call on her and was asked to leave because people in the space said they did not feel safe or comfortable with this strange woman in their space. We headed to Silver Lake, to Renters of the Ravines. Our subject's drink was roofied and her purse was stolen. We ended our experiment in Montebello at Crust, LA. She was the only black person there and was groped 3 times within 30 minutes of being in the bar. So yes, my hypothesis was correct, and that haterade is real, and that it is affecting the POC queer community in Los Angeles in a real way. The testing and technological developments Jackson & Jackson laboratories have done up to now are the tip of the iceberg in regards to understanding the full scope to what extent haterade is affecting our daily lives. With the public support of Jackson & Jackson laboratories, I believe that we will be able to find all the haters, even those who hide behind the mask of solidarity for the black queer community. Thank you. Tonight's show, Black Ted. This was for you. This was by us. This is for us. This will always be Black Ted. Thank you so much, Lace Gallery. Thank you, Young June Kwa. Thank you, Daniela. I'd like to thank also my co-hosts. Everything that's been discussed tonight, we share with love, but the most important thing is that you walk away looking at yourselves and loving yourselves and giving us money, white people. Thank you so much.